All right, can we move on? Sometimes I like stick with a question and I run with it forever. Okay, here's a question from a new dad. Will we ever have sex again? We just had a baby and... Wait. I'm like reading my own handwriting here because I transcribed them instead of printing them out. That's all I can think about. That was the end of the sentence. Okay, I shouldn't laugh. You know, I'm supposed to be a professional here. Will we ever have sex again? That's the question. You know, I didn't come up with an answer for this one. I'm answering this one on the fly. Well, you know, this is your concern, this is your issue, and again, it's one of those adjustments that dads have to make when a new baby comes into their life. The postpartum period, yeah, and I have to answer this question in different stages really, but the postpartum period, that is like the time immediately after birth, is that's not the time that much is going on. Mothers are just, you know, they're pushed to their limits. They're tired, they're stressed, their focus is really about their baby, and it's hard to bring intimacy back into that. Sometimes that's for physical reasons, sometimes that's for emotional reasons, whatever. Your safest bet is just, you know, kind of laying off of that for a little bit and just, you know, kind of figuring things out for yourself. But then as time moves by, and I think that is more of the critical issue, because you're kind of like, okay, well, you know, when are things going to get back to normal? And you know, that depends a lot on how the woman is doing, how she's feeling in the early stages of her time with a new baby. I mean, it's contingent on so many things, like physicality, like did she have a C-section? Did she have a traumatic birth? How is she doing physically? Did she have stitches and so forth? And we'll talk a little bit about that later. But then it's more of like an emotional connection and having like this sort of capacity to bring that intimacy back into your life. I can tell you that many times when women are breastfeeding, there's a hormonal level that's the exact opposite of where she was when she was pregnant. So it's actually in an area of sort of a depleted sex drive. And so she just may not have it in her, and it's just not, you know, it's not even that she's too tired or too busy or whatever, it's just that it's not there. And no, that's not a reason to stop breastfeeding. That will level itself out over a period of time, because we don't stay in that exact same range during the time that women are nursing. However, it will take some patience on your part, and it'll take a sort of concentrated effort on her part to, to try to reach into that again and bring it back. Now, I'm not a sex therapist, but I'm sure that any sex therapist would tell you that you have to, you have to find other ways of being intimate without, you have to sort of be creative, and you have to be willing to have an intimacy that's connected and physical, but isn't necessarily sexual. Okay, is that like sort of the best way I could put it? So yeah, I know it's a bummer for a lot of dads, and it's one of those things that you have to accept about this new turn and phase in your life. I know it really doesn't sound very encouraging, does it? But you'll win a lot of points by being compassionate, by being patient, and by expressing your understanding that your trust that it'll come back, and that you're expressing your patience, that you give her the time and space that she needs. In the meantime, you'll figure things out for yourself. Okay, let me find my next question. All right, I'll answer this quick and easy one too. again, on the topic of sex. And if you're just tuning in, this is the dad show. That's why the questions are skewed in a specific way here. This is the program for new fathers or fathers to be. Okay, so this is coming from a father to be. The question is, at what point in the pregnancy do we have to stop having sex? There's no reason to stop having sex during a woman's pregnancy. I think it's sort of kind of an old wives' tale or something that that sexual activity will bring on premature labor, whatever. I mean, pretty ridiculous. I mean, we're animals. We're designed to do this. It's not, you know, if that was going to be an issue, well, that wouldn't have worked out. I don't think we would have evolved to this state if that was, if having sex during pregnancy was going to cause an instant miscarriage or what have you. That said, many of you might hear that towards the very end of the pregnancy, if you want to, you know, sort of try to get things going in terms of the woman becoming more prepared for birth, sometimes, you know, a doctor or midwife will say like, well, you know, maybe you can try having sex and that'll sort of, you know, get things going. I mean, that only is effective when the woman is full term and she's actually physiologically ready to give birth. And what that means physiologically, I believe, is that the cervix, right, the cervix, which is the neck of the uterus, is starting to ripen, as they say. It becomes softer, it becomes malleable, it starts to thin out. Thinning out is called effacement, and that's a term that you'll hear during labor or in the weeks before labor when the doctor or midwife does an exam. So when the cervix is beginning to ripen, it's said that the sort of chemical component to chemical, is that what I want to say? There's perhaps something in the sperm that helps the cervix ripen a little bit more if it's on its way to ripening. So I think that that's where that notion comes into play, that having sex can sort of stimulate labor. But again, that's only when the woman is, you know, ready to go to begin with. So it's not something that you should worry about. And if your wife is happy to have a go, then, you know, by all means, don't hold back. All right, next question. All right, this is my favorite one, and it's probably the most uncomfortable to answer, but I'm a professional, right? You know, I just have to jump in and address these very valid questions. Again, coming only from dads. Okay, here we go. I'm secretly hoping that my wife will have a C-section because I don't want her to, you know, get all stretched out down there. Okay, so let's talk about this one.